Fast and traffic in 5 minutes. War on Ukraine. President Biden and U.S. allies will mark the one-year anniversary of Russia invading Ukraine with a virtual meeting and more sanctions.
G7 nation leaders will hold a video conference with Ukraine's President Zelensky to coordinate the next round of military aid, as well as delivering more economic punishment.
Go after more Russian banks, Russia's defense and technology industry.
Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre saying other nations are planning on tightening their economic vice on Russia as well.
Andy Field reporting. Accused double murderer Alex Murdaugh is due back on the stand today in South Carolina.
Alex Murdaugh taking the stand in his own defense, immediately denying he killed his wife and son.
Did you take this gun or any gun like it and blow your son's brains out on June 7th or any day or any time?
No, I did not.
Murdaugh admitting he lied about being at the crime scene in the minutes before the murders. The once prominent South Carolina attorney saying he was paranoid because of his opioid addiction. And when asked about the millions he stole from clients of his law firm,
I took money that was not mine, and I shouldn't have done it.
That's Jacqueline Lee reporting. Right now in Tennessee, bills which Republicans say are to protect children are closer to becoming law. There's one last vote needed before the so-called drag show bill goes to Governor Lee's desk. News 2 says the state Senate has to vote on a last-minute amendment, and the bill bans sexually explicit performances in places where children might be able to see them. The bill to ban gender-affirming care for minors when a boy wants to be or feels like a girl, and vice versa, has passed. It's on the way to Governor Lee for his consideration. 3 Democrats joined every Republican in passing that bill. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, beaconcm.com. Here's Daria Albinger.
Stocks closed higher, breaking a 4-day losing streak. The Dow rose 109 points. The Nasdaq added 83 and the S&P closed up 21. Tech stocks were the session's biggest gainers after NVIDIA reported better than expected sales, citing recovering strength in video gaming and artificial intelligence products. The economy expanded at a 2.7 annual rate from October through December, a solid showing despite rising interest rates and slowing but still high inflation. That said, the government says the gross domestic product was still slower than the 2.9% expansion it expected. The GDP is the economy's total output in goods and services, and it is a marked deceleration from the 3.2% growth rate from July to September. Fewer workers applied for unemployment benefits last week than expected, the latest indication that the job market is still strong.
Futures headed lower ahead of the opening bell on Wall Street. Dow futures down 97, S&P down 16, NASDAQ futures down 90. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news. SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in, Friday, February 24th. How you doing, friends? Along with Johnny B, Ken Weaver as well. We've got a lot going on. I've been looking forward, by the way, gents, to this day for a long time. You know why? Not only is it Friday.
Why is that, Brother Dan Mandis?
We got that big-time guitar player, Dez Dickerson, coming in at 8:35.
Oh, we're going to party like it's 1999, baby.
That's exactly right. Of course, you know, with me, I party like I am 99, so there's not going to be much.
Well, 99.7.
Off to a rocking start here on Nashville's Morning News.
No pun intended.
No. Anyway, looking forward to seeing Dez. He's going to be here in studio, so very much looking forward to that.
Very cool.
There is a lot going on. Appreciate you folks joining us here for a Friday. I love what is going on right now with conservatives and the media. And Ron DeSantis says, no, this is not a puff piece on Ron DeSantis. Don't worry. I've got some great things to say about Donald Trump today, too. But DeSantis, you may remember the story where Andrea Mitchell was interviewing Kamala Harris. And she asked a question of Kamala that was framed in such a way that it was an obvious lie about Ron DeSantis. This is how Andrea Mitchell framed this question to Vice President Kamala Harris over the education system in Florida.
Let me ask you, what does Governor Ron DeSantis not know about black history and the black experience when he says that slavery and the aftermath of slavery should not be taught to Florida school children?
Now, that is such a complete and utter lie. And everybody knew that that was a lie. The way that Andrea Mitchell, what a stupid question. What a layup question for Kamala Harris. But putting all of that aside, there's nothing about DeSantis and his policies that say that slavery cannot be taught in schools. As a matter of fact, it's required in Florida schools. And see, this isn't about DeSantis. This is actually more about the media and conservatives generally speaking. Because if the media is not lying about DeSantis, they're lying about Donald Trump. If they're not lying about DeSantis or Trump, they're lying about Tim Scott or, Rick Scott. Need I go on? I mean, this is something that we see all the time. Now, it is the response of DeSantis that I like a lot and is getting a lot of media outlets really starting to, I think, worry them a little bit because this could catch on. DeSantis is basically saying, you know what? Until Andrea Mitchell apologizes and until Andrea Mitchell actually sets the record straight, we're not going to grant any access, any interviews to MSNBC or NBC or their affiliates because it was a complete and utter lie. They teach in Florida, they teach the political aspects, the coming to America for the slaves, the experience of slaves. They talk about abolition and the contributions of prominent black Americans, among many other things, in the state of Florida. So when Andrea Mitchell frames this question...
Let me ask you, what does Governor Ron DeSantis not know about black history and the black experience when he says that slavery and the aftermath of slavery should not be taught to Florida school children?
And now that we know what really is taught in Florida schools, Andrea Mitchell coming under all kinds of fire because she knowingly lied. So this is what she said. This was what is being called a non-apology.
And a postscript. In my interview last Friday with Vice President Harris, I was imprecise in summarizing Governor DeSantis' position about teaching slavery in schools.
So is that what we're calling lies now, imprecise? I'm sorry, Andrea Mitchell. Are you a journalist seeking the truth or are you not? I guess that's kind of a dumb question. Clearly, she's not looking for the truth.
Governor DeSantis is not opposed to teaching the fact of slavery in schools, but he has opposed the teaching of an African-American studies curriculum, as well as the use of some authors and source materials that historians and teachers say makes it all but impossible for students to understand the broader historic and political context behind slavery and its aftermath in the years since.
So, no, clearly that's not only is that not an apology, that's not even a clarification. All you're clarifying, I would say to Andrea Mitchell, all you're clarifying is your clear bias against Ron DeSantis and, frankly, conservatives. Now, what is it that DeSantis does not want taught? He gave a print interview where he talked about seeing things like queer theory, abolishing prisons, intersectionality, which is, in case you don't know, the concept of inequality based on all kinds of different things and how that impacts our daily lives, which ultimately leads to race baiting and blaming modern white Americans for the sins of the past. So this is all about indoctrination. And so people, including Ron DeSantis, they're calling BS on Andrea Mitchell, as should all conservatives. This is part of what DeSantis said yesterday.
Governor DeSantis does not want students to learn about slavery and its aftermath. Well, if you actually looked at what our standards are, not only is it not prohibited to teach that, it's required to teach that.
Yep.
It's required to teach all of those things. It's required under Florida statutes to teach about racial discrimination. And so they will say, the school had to take a book about Hank Aaron off the shelf because it talks about he faced racial discrimination. And you're thinking like, okay, and why are they doing that? They're doing that to try to create a narrative. They're not doing that because Florida has a law or anything like that.
Nope. So now DeSantis is canceling NBC and MSNBC and their affiliates. His press secretary tweeting this out to all of the bookers and producers reaching out to our office from NBC and MSNBC and their affiliates. No more interviews until Andrea Mitchell apologizes and sets the record straight. Well, I just played for you her non-apology, and I just played for you her not setting the record straight. So when you ask, why is it that so many conservatives don't trust the media? Well, this is why. This is why so many conservatives and middle-of-the-road types, by the way, they don't trust the media. Because you know that they're lying, and you see it day in and day out. They are not trying to find the truth. They are pitching a narrative. They are pushing a narrative, an anti-conservative narrative, and that is obvious. Now, Andrea Mitchell, memo to she and the rest of the media, their job is to report the truth. She didn't. She blatantly lied, and she knew that she was lying. She has been caught now, and she refuses to set the record straight. She refuses to even acknowledge that there is controversy regarding what they want to do in Florida with some of these things that they want to teach in the schools, what the left wants to teach in the schools. There's a lot of controversy. And so there are two sides, and she didn't even report that there's two sides on this story. It is just DeSantis. He obviously doesn't understand the black community. He obviously doesn't want slavery taught. So far away from the truth, and people have now figured that out. There's a little bit more. And also, did you hear what Joy Behar said yesterday on The View when it came to what happened in East Palestine? It is all straight ahead. 5:15 for Friday. SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Thank you very much. Morning showers today, a high of 53. Chance of showers on Saturday, a high of 53. Slight chance of a shower on Sunday, a high of 63 degrees at SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. JB, you just whispered in my ear. Is 46 degrees is what you said? 46 at SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. A couple of final thoughts on DeSantis, because I already know that there's some people that are saying, oh, look, another, kiss butt segment for Ron DeSantis. This is not about Ron DeSantis, folks. This is about the media. The fact of the matter is that DeSantis is a very popular figure within the Republican Party, within the conservative movement. And so remember, if Andrea Mitchell and the media, if they're not going after DeSantis, they're going after any other conservative or Republican. You've seen what they're saying about Tim Scott. You've seen what they've said about Rick Scott. You've seen what they've said about Tim Scott. And not to mention, obviously, Donald Trump. So on and on and on it goes. I think that at this point, we're so used to the media continuously reporting these lies and nobody holding them accountable, right? I mean, I want you to think about this. Hunter's laptop, the border, and the claim that the border is closed when it's not. The claim that Republicans want to eliminate or sunset Medicare and Social Security. There really isn't news reporting anymore, obviously, at least when it comes to people like Andrea Mitchell and the mainstream media. It is just simply reporting the agenda of one side, whether that is misreporting what Republicans want to do or lying about what Republicans want to do or talking about what Joe Biden wants to do. There's all kinds of lies and obfuscation going on, and oftentimes it's praising Joe Biden and it's bashing Republicans and conservatives. So I really do like what DeSantis is doing. The media loves to be part of the cancel culture, right? Everybody knows that. So why not just cancel the mainstream media back? I would love it if Tim Scott or Rick Scott or some of these other folks just said, you know what? We're not going to do these interviews because what you do is you lie about us. And then when we give you the interviews, when we grant the interviews, when you grant the access, then you take the things that we say and you completely blow them out of context. You take our words out of context. You take our legislation out of context and you essentially lie. So why should conservatives continue to, what's the best way to put this, cooperate with what the mainstream media is doing? You're going to lie and try and destroy my reputation, DeSantis will say. We're not going to stand for this, and no longer will we even participate in this, and we will no longer grant access. I would love it if more members of either Congress, the Senate, House of Representatives, local leaders, presidential candidates, if they just decided, no, we're not going to do this anymore. I don't think that would necessarily be a bad thing. Now, Joy Behar, speaking of nut jobs, she was on The View, of course, yesterday. You know, she's on The View every day spewing her nonsense. And she actually, like a lot of these other leftists and progressives in the media, they're trying to blame Donald Trump for the Ohio train derailment. But she also basically said, yeah, you know what, those people in East Palestine, because it's been well documented that this is a Trump country. She basically said, you know what, the people of East Palestine, they got what's coming to them because they voted for Donald Trump.
That's who you voted for in that district. Donald Trump, who reduces all safety. He did in those days.
Showed up at McDonald's and those voters saw something on the ground that probably resonates.
So, and I've gone over this to death, folks. I know you've heard it 1,000 times. Donald Trump and the Republicans, there was this legislation, a mandate over specific kind of brake for these trains carrying toxic materials, but this particular train would not have fallen under that mandate. So Donald Trump would not be responsible for this train wreck, for this train derailment. That falls on Norfolk Southern. Now, there was this mandate way back in 2015 that by 2023, all of these trains that carry toxic chemicals would have to have these particular brakes. But here's the thing. It would have to be, from what I understand, all of the train cars would have to be carrying toxic chemicals for them to be required to have these specific brakes. This particular train car, it was only a few of this particular train, only a few of the cars had these toxic materials. So again, this train wouldn't have had these brakes. But see, that doesn't matter to Joy Behar and the left. They're going to continue down this road of trying to blame Donald Trump because, frankly, just like the media and Andrea Mitchell talking about Ron DeSantis, and just like the media talking about Rick Scott claiming he wants to sunset Social Security and Medicare, now they're going after Donald Trump for this deregulation that supposedly caused this train derailment when it clearly did not. And all it takes is a couple of quick Google searches to point that out. 521 on Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
The Drive with Brian Wilson.
The FBI, what a mess this is becoming. Their mission is to investigate crime and to be the preeminent national law enforcement agency. Not to be involved in politics. As much as I hate to say it, it's time to just strip this agency down and rebuild it.
The Drive with Brian Wilson. Afternoons at 3. Super Talk 99.7.
Dan Mandis here for Window Nation. Get ready to have a blast of winter. Yes, the next brutal blast of wicked, wild, and windy weather is on its way. And the only thing going down is the temperature. Costs are going up, inflation is going up, and projections say that your winter heating bills will reach a 10-year high, but you can cut your energy bills by up to 30%, increase your home's value, and get amazing savings with Window Nation. Call Window Nation today and buy 2 windows, get 2 free with no interest payments until 2025. With Window Nation's precision installation, your new windows will lock out the cold, blocking even the smallest draft, and keep your energy bills lower despite their ever-rising costs. Remember that great deal when you mention my name. Get 2 windows free for every 2 that you buy with 0% interest until 2025. Call 866-90-NATION, online, windownation.com.
Did you know that regular maintenance on your HVAC and plumbing systems can save you lots of money? Join the Beehive Club with Busy Bee today for as little as $99 per unit. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your official Rude Pro partner. Call 615-775-7833.
Off to a smooth start, 65 north and south, 24 coming up from the borough, 40 west into town, no problems, and 440 remains clear in both directions. I'm Jack Womack. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky talking tough to Ukrainians in a video address marking 1 year since Russia invaded them. Got an urgent product recall underway we'll tell you about. You might have one in your kitchen. And one more last-minute vote on the so-called drag show bill in Tennessee. These stories and more at 5:30 on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
Thanks, Ken. 528, Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Coming up during the Gang of Three Amigos, Ken, Johnny, we're going to have to tread lightly on this first topic that we're going to do for the Gang of Three Amigos. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not sure if we can do it, but we're going to try.
Okay.
Coming up on the Gang of Three Amigos.
Well, you know how I always tread lightly.
Yeah. Dan,
I mean, if it gets, I'll just say, I just cover the news, boys.
And then Johnny just won't turn on his mic, and I'll just be by myself.
You'll be all by yourself, Brother Dan.
And then I'll just start talking, and that's where I get in really big trouble. Anyway.
Very well.
I'll be giving you some silent attaboys.
That's sure the safest attaboy you can give.
Like a thumbs up.
Yeah,
when it comes to me.
I have my camera off, and I'll be giving you a thumbs up, man.
That's exactly right. Guys, when you nod your head or give me the thumbs up, make sure your camera is off. You know what we need on this show? We need a stop talking sign, like sign language.
Probably better to have like an electric shock.
That's right here in this chair.
Yeah. Well, in all three chairs.
Well, I had one installed years ago to get Del Giorno to take his brakes on time, and I think it just anyway. Moving on. 529.
You ready to say run out of batteries?
Yeah.
529. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Window Nation. You know, they put new windows in my basement studio. I absolutely love the windows. And I love this company because they are trying to save you money on new windows. Right now, a great deal for you from Window Nation. Pay $0 down, make 0 payments, and get 0% financing for 24 months. That is 2 years, no interest. Plus, get 2 free windows with every 2 that you buy with no limit. That's a lot of windows for a lot less money when you go through Window Nation. Now, take advantage of Window Nation's deep discounts, all the while reinvesting in your biggest asset, not to mention the energy savings for years to come. So call them today at 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION. Yeah, you can increase the value of your home by up to $12,000. Pay nothing for 24 months, plus buy 2 windows and get 2 free on any style window from Window Nation, and there is no limit. Call him, tell him Dan Mandis told you to reach out, 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION, windownation.com.
$5:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We're headed for a showery, drizzly weekend. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Ukraine commemorating the first anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion. That's a defiant President Volodymyr Zelensky speaking to Ukrainians in a video address, calling February 24th, 2022, quote, the longest day of our lives, but pledging to push for victory this year. Ukraine right now holding off a major Russian offensive in the east and is planning its own counteroffensive in the spring, still asking for weapons and ammunition from the West. Right now in this country, an urgent product recall underway. Daria Albinger says some air fryers may do more than just cook your food quickly.
Story is recalling more than 2 million air fryers sold in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico due to a risk of fire. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says wire connections can overheat. The company says it's received more than 200 reports of the air fryers catching fire, burning, melting, or smoking, as well as 10 reports of minor burns. The air fryers were sold between June of 2018 and December of 2022 at a number of online and brick-and-mortar retailers. The model numbers involved are listed on the Commission's website.
Talking about Cosori air fryers. And right now in Tennessee, one more last-minute vote on that so-called drag show bill. Here's Channel 4's Ryan Breslin.
While the bill never says drag or drag queens in it, it focuses on banning an adult cabaret performance in a public place that could feature topless, go-go, or exotic dancers and strippers, or male or female impersonators, whether or not they're performing for consideration.
The bill goes to the Senate after the House amended it. Once passed in the Senate, it goes to Governor Lee. By the way, that bill that bans gender-affirming care for minors is headed to Governor Lee's desk. It bans surgery or hormone treatment for kids who want to be or feel like they are different from what they were at birth. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
8:38, Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Good morning, gentlemen. We've got Ken Weaver in the house, Johnny B as well. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, boys.
Good morning, gentlemen.
So, coming up at 8:35.
But when I woke up this morning, could have sworn it was Judgment Day.
Dez Dickerson is going to be joining us.
Boy, and I was getting into that. And then,
were you?
It just went away.
But when I woke up this morning, could have sworn it was Judgment Day.
You know, if I ever get his actual phone number, I'm going to have that as the ringtone. Anyway.
Why not?
You know what? I'm actually looking forward to this. Guitarist for Prince also had. Was that the only line that Dez sang in a song for Prince?
No, he had a couple other lines.
Oh, yeah, he'd harmonize with him, too.
Well, I mean, the harmonies are.
Plus, he looked cool in the video. He had that headband on with a little Japanese.
I wonder if he still has. Oh my gosh! Ask Dez if he's still got the headband.
Yeah,
he probably does.
I'm sure he does.
Any inappropriate questions we can ask him about his time with Prince?
Inappropriate?
At 8:35? Yeah.
Like all the wild parties that may have happened? Or
Well, we all know that Prince is... What's the best way to describe Prince? I mean, he was an outstanding musician. I'm obviously going to ask him about...
Genius.
Being a guitar player in Prince's band, where Prince is an incredible guitarist.
In fact, the best video I've ever seen was whenever Prince was jamming on stage with like Tom Petty and all these different rock stars. They were doing While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Prince all of a sudden just does this amazing solo.
Yep.
When he gets done, he just takes a guitar and drops it. Like, okay, follow that.
What do you think about that, boys?
Like mic drop. And I love the look on Tom Petty's face.
Oh, yeah.
Just priceless.
Tom Petty was just like, oh, my gosh.
I like the story that Billy Gibbons told about ZZ Top had done a show in New York, and Billy went out, and at this club he went to, some people met him at the door, and they were Prince's entourage. Prince wanted to ask Billy Gibbons a question about a lick that Prince said he couldn't find. He could not recreate it.
Really?
And so Billy Gibbons said he and Prince sat in this back corner of this club in New York and discussed guitar work all night long. And Prince kept asking him, how do I find this lick again? And Billy, at the end of the interview, said, I don't know if he ever found it again, but he said that was one of the most interesting nights he ever had.
Well, in fact, a great story I heard, because Prince was a huge in fact, that's what he wanted to do. When he was a kid, he wanted to play basketball.
Yes.
He was just so short that the coaches didn't think he'd be that great. There was someone, I forget if it was a band or someone else, but they challenged Prince and the Revolution to a basketball game.
Yeah, Charlie Murphy, Eddie Murphy's brother, told this story.
That was it, yeah.
And Dave Chappelle did, on the Chappelle show, he did a skit on it.
That was it, and Prince showed up. He said they didn't show up in basketball gear. They showed up in their stage gear.
Yeah, they were in their blouses.
And high heels and all that.
And won.
And they won. They beat them at basketball.
And then I just saw something recently where Eddie Murphy was asked about, because Charlie has passed, and Eddie Murphy was asked about, did that really happen? And Eddie Murphy confirmed that really did happen. And I wonder if Dez was part of that.
I would love to see if Dez played in that game.
Yes, I would too. Because that's just so amazing to me. They show up in stage clothes. I mean, high heels and everything, and beat them at basketball.
Beat them badly.
Yes, they did.
So do you think, because this is a true, because we all know that I can be awkward, right? We all know that. So
sure, Brother Dan.
Is it wrong when he comes in to play this little? Because, some people, like Peter Cetera, refuses to discuss Chicago. And so what I'm curious about is, will Dez have a problem if I play that? I hope not.
Oh, I wouldn't think so.
Really?
Well, yeah. I mean,
I get nervous about these things because I always seem to screw it up.
Well, musicians can be a little, let's just say, sensitive.
Touchy?
Yeah.
But he doesn't strike me as that, as a touchy kind of a guy.
No, in fact, he was a big fan of the Phil Valentine show, and we heard from him often. I mean, he called into the show a lot.
Why doesn't he ever call into my show?
Probably because it's too early.
Yeah.
Musicians, man, this is their Betty by time.
He's doing us a big favor by coming in this morning.
This is funny. When I said, would like you to come in at 8:35, and then he sent back a note, PM question. I'm like, no.
Well, it's very funny because my musician friends, a lot of them didn't know I was still with the station.
Well, that's sad.
Well, because they don't wake up that early.
Oh, I was going to say.
So they said, "Hey, man, what are you doing now?" I said, I'm still. When are you on? I'll tell them what time. I guess I won't be catching you.
Yeah. That's all right. All right. So, vast majority of young men are single.
Huh.
What do you know about that?
Well, I actually know a lot about that. You ready?
Okay.
So, one of the biggest reasons why. I've got to tiptoe. We've got to be careful, guys.
All right.
Because psychologists are finding that there is enough to keep them satisfied online. And they don't have to go out anymore. That's one of the big reasons why, is they have a lot of alone time online, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
And men have just decided that, frankly, women aren't worth the trouble. That's what they're saying. It is very sad.
That is sad if that is the truth.
But, I can understand why some of them may be feeling that way, because in this age we find ourselves in, where a lot of things can happen, where your intentions can be
misconstrued.
Yes, I can understand.
Women are stronger these days than they were in generations past as well. And I think and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I actually think that's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
But I think that a lot of men, and I've heard this from women, so it's not just me talking out my butt. I've heard from women that have said that men, there's more demands, there's more expectations being placed on men than ever before. And as women rise in the workplace and obviously in society and so forth, as women rise, some men are actually not rising. They're actually sort of lowering, and that means that they're not meeting the expectations. And so that's part of what's going on. Is also there's the attack on toxic masculinity as well. And so for men, you've got all of these things that are going against you, and the women are finding a lot of men more weak or weaker these days.
Well, there were a lot of mixed signals. I mean, even when I was coming up, women were wanting men to be more sensitive, be better listeners.
I remember, Johnny, in the 80s, I learned how to cry so that I would look more sensitive.
Yeah, I did as well.
Did you guys ever master that when you were?
Oh, sure, I did.
Okay, Ken's just a news guy.
Hey,
I can hear that coming. No, seriously, when we were in the 80s, in high school, let's face it was only about one thing back then. And so if I needed to pretend that I was sensitive, I would pretend to be sensitive.
Well, and then let's see, on the other hand, then they desperately want deep inside a real man.
That's a man, baby.
So it's like, okay, well, where do I find that happy medium where I make you happy, that I'm sensitive yet masculine?
Yeah. And I don't know. And it depends on the woman, obviously.
Yes, it does.
So there's this constant, for men, there's this constant moving target. And I think that many have just decided, you know what? There's a lot of expectations that are being placed on me right now. I don't know if I'm supposed to be sensitive. Am I supposed to be masculine? Does that mean that I'm toxic? Am I going to get accused of this, that, or the other? And I think a lot of men just say, screw it, I'm out. I'm going to go play my video games and do whatever else online and be done.
I think they're way overthinking it.
Yes, I think everybody is. I think
just get out there and have you a date.
Men and women both are overthinking everything these days. I think it's both sexes.
Put the phone down, look into each other's eyes, and start necking.
Quit texting. Communicate to each other without the phone. and just have fun with each other and be respectful.
But if you're single, if you're a young single male, because that's what this article is about, if you're a young single male, then you've sort of grown up with all of these mixed signals.
Yes.
And so it's easy to say, Ken and Johnny, it's easy to say, and I agree with you, by the way, that everybody needs to put their phones down. Here's the problem is that, and I've actually spoken about this is a challenge in my own life, where our significant others, they are on TikTok and Instagram and all this. There's some funny crap on there, so it's hard to compete.
Yes, it is.
And just like Amy will tell me to get off my phone because I'm reading about, exciting things like foreign policy. She finds it sometimes hard to compete with some of the stuff that I'm looking at because I'm really interested in things that she's not necessarily interested in. So it goes both ways. And so now she and I, it's actually kind of nice because we've come now to a place where we can hang out together, we can drink coffee, we can watch movies, we can talk, or we can sit in silence on our phones and we're no longer ashamed of it because she is feeding her obsessions or interests and I'm feeding mine, but we're still together. And then I'll blurt out something like, hey, did you hear what happened in Israel? And it'll be like silence on Amy's end. And then she'll say to me, hey, watch this TikTok video. And at that particular moment, I have to go to the bathroom. So there you go.
Man, my wife, I tell you what, she's getting sexier and sexier to me. She is actually starting to comment during football games that we're watching.
Really?
Because she used to call them shows. Now, she still calls football games shows.
Yeah.
But the last Titans game we watched, Derrick Henry threw somebody off of him into the sideline, and she jumped up and went, woo!
Really?
And I just looked at her and I said, yeah, baby. Yes, sir.
You know what Amy told me that she thought was really sexy?
What's that?
In 2022 for yours truly? When I started showing an interest in college football. And all of a sudden she was like, wait, you want to do what? So I want to watch the Vols game. She said, why? Because I'm interested. Stunned silence.
Oh.
And then she said, that's kind of sexy. And so I kept that faux interest going for weeks.
Man. I was getting ready. So every Saturday you went
so you want to watch?
When
how you doing? You want to watch the game?
Gosh, you guys make me feel like I haven't been called sexy in years.
Yeah, I haven't been called that in a long time either.
Golly, I must have lost.
Way to go, brother Dan.
Yeah, man.
Mandis, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry that my toxic masculinity sexiness has made you two feel less desirable.
I hope that cry room's unlocked.
Yeah, I do too, man.
I got to go down the hall.
Yeah.
But it's for something else. There won't be any crying.
So should we just let Ken continue to talk about what he's referring to? Because I really don't know.
I'm going to get a cup of coffee.
Oh, is that what you're going to do?
I'm going to get a hot cup of Joe.
Let's see here. Can we please see Dan cry? 3304.
Well, we could talk about Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that made you cry.
Wednesday, that made him cry.
Did Wednesday make you cry?
Yep.
Oh, you guys are bringing up all the... Yes, Wednesday made me cry.
Really?
Yes.
Steve Perry songs make him cry.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Faithfully. That makes Dan cry.
Yeah.
Open arms. Open arms, man.
Faithfully.
I tell you, I can't wait till that Dolly Parton version comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Dan's
my Lord.
We may have to go over to Brother Dan's house.
Dan, I got a box of tissues for you just in case.
Come on, Dan. We know you already know how to cry. You don't have to. Come on, another one. You don't, Rooster. Come on now.
Rooster.
You don't need to pretend to be sensitive. Who you kidding?
Oh, that's right. Start the segment. You said you learned how to cry back in the day to earn some favor with pretty ladies.
Yeah.
That's right. You know what? When women say they want you to be sensitive, I'm right there.
I told my daughter, I said, I don't care what they tell you. They're lying.
But we're telling you the truth when we say we're sensitive SOBs.
That's exactly
That's right.
right.
Real
We
sensitive
are.
SOBs.
Yes, we
Sons of biscuit eaters.
That's right.
All right. USS United Structural Systems. By the way, again, don't forget, if you're just joining us, Dez Dickerson.
But when I woke up this morning, could have sworn it was Judgment Day.
He'll be with us at 8:35, hanging out with us for the gang of 4 amigos here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Friends, if you even think that you need some concrete leveling, waterproofing, or foundation work, you've got to call the people that I trust, United Structural Systems. I've had them out to my house. Love working with these folks. Listen, they have 23,100% satisfied customers that can sing their praises. I am just one. They do great work, and they've got great warranties as well. Lifetime warranties that are transferable and are guaranteed for the lifetime of your home. They'll also provide services with no down payment. So call them today at 615-227-2275. As always, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 615-227-2275. You think that you've got issues, don't stress. Call the best USS, United Structural Systems, Homeowners Trust USS. The website, USSTN.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. You often hear me talk about diversification in the investing process, but how do we diversify? Well, we look for things that move in dissimilar fashion historically. Some of those market areas might be really small companies or really large companies, or very growth-oriented companies or value-oriented companies. One of the things that we find is that when we diversify between these various segments, we can reduce the volatility of the portfolio because they don't move in tandem with each other historically. Now, we can do that in U.S. markets, we can do that in international markets, and in emerging markets. And when we can dampen that volatility, we can help get ourselves a little bit of a better outcome as far as knowing what we might likely have in the future, or how we can take income from our investment portfolio. Now, we also want to add fixed income or bonds to the mix as well. Now, if we know that we need to do this, what's the best way to do it? Well, one of the things that we often teach is this concept of market efficiency. This won the Nobel Prize in economics as well. And it's the idea that if I'm investing in, let's say, small value stocks, if we look at professional managers and their ability to say, hey, should I have this stock or that one, and picking companies or areas of the market, we find that they typically get lower returns than the market does on its own. They just add expense and they can add a lot of volatility. One of the things we want to avoid is anything that can hurt your returns and increase your risk in the investing process. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call, or call 615-851-1950.
5:59, Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. The tragedy of bail reform on full display in Memphis. Wait till you hear what is going on there. That story for you and a whole lot more, including the latest on what's going on in East Palestine. How did Pete Buttigieg, how did his trip go over for the people in Ohio? Details straight ahead. Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
Six o'clock on the dot this Friday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We're in for a sometimes rainy and drizzly weekend with more seasonable temperatures. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Just got an alert from USA Today that says the White House has just announced that President Biden has signed off on what they call sweeping new sanctions against Russian individuals for Vladimir Putin's war on Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukraine is commemorating the first anniversary of the full-scale invasion. A defiant President Volodymyr Zelensky speaking to Ukrainians in this video address calling February 24th, 2022, the longest day of our lives, but pledging to push for victory this year.
Europe is growing weary. Billions upon billions in funds have already been poured to Kyiv. Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, for one, refusing to budge from his now familiar rhetorical position.
Some worry our support to Ukraine risks triggering escalation. But there are no risk-free options. And the biggest risk of all is if President Putin wins.
Meanwhile, in Ukraine, President Zelensky pledges to push for victory in 2023 on the somber anniversary. Tom Rivers, ABC News at the Foreign Desk.
The UN estimates that at least 8,000 civilians have been killed in Ukraine, more than 13,000 injured since the invasion. Accused double murderer Alex Murdaugh due back on the stand today in South Carolina.
Alex Murdaugh taking the stand in his own defense, immediately denying he killed his wife and son.
Did you take this gun or any gun like it and blow your son's brains out on June 7th or any day or any time?
No, I did not.
Murdaugh admitting he lied about being at the crime scene in the minutes before the murders. The once prominent South Carolina attorney saying he was paranoid because of his opioid addiction. And when asked about the millions he stole from clients of his law firm,
I took money that was not mine, and I shouldn't have done it.
As Jacqueline Lee reporting. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Here's Jim Ryan.
After a slow start to the session, investors rallied to break a 5-day losing streak on Thursday. The Dow Jones gained 108 points to finish at 33,154. The S&P picked up 0.5%. The Nasdaq Composite rose 0.7%. Yes, Beyond Meat did post a $67 million loss in its fourth quarter, but Wall Street was expecting an $80 million loss. The mismatch was enough to drive share prices in the meat alternative company higher by 14% in after-hours trading. More grim news in the housing market. The average long-term U.S. mortgage rate rose to 6.5% this week, nearly double last year's rate. The 15-year rate, popular for home refinancing, climbed to nearly 5.8%. The Cosori air fryer looks great and works like a charm. The only problem is that it tends to overheat and burst into flames. The company that makes it has issued a recall of 2 million Cosori air fryers after getting hundreds of reports of fires.
Futures headed lower. according to what I'm looking at right now. Dow futures off 176, S&P down 25, NASDAQ off 117. Ahead of this morning's opening bell on Wall Street. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And go, my fellow Americans.
We talk news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
6:08 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you very much for being here. Pete Buttigieg, OMG, LOL. That dude got beat up yesterday in East Palestine, Ohio. We've got the very latest. I don't know if you've seen the video of Buttigieg walking around. He's clearly not in a good mood. And the reason why he's not in a good mood is, quite frankly, because he's being attacked, and he should be attacked. And so we'll get into that straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We all know about bail reforms. And, you know, in teasing this segment, I had made mention that the tragedy of bail reforms is on full display in Memphis. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. You've got this guy who is accused in this mass shooting in Memphis, Tennessee, of course. The man accused of shooting 11 people at a Whitehaven club, killing one of them, has now been let out on bail. Ladarius Marion, 21 years old. The judge originally wanted to make his bail $800,000. But then his lawyers apparently got involved, or the suspect himself said that he didn't have the money to be able to afford an $800,000 bail. So what the judge did, I'm sure this is all because of equity. The judge said, okay, we'll go ahead and lower your bail from $800,000 to $25,000. And you only have to have a portion of that. So for $2,500, Ladarius Marion, accused of shooting 11 people, killing one, you still got a handful in the hospital in critical condition. This dude is out on bail. Are you kidding me? So when you say the tragedy and the absurdity of bail reforms, because remember, that's what Memphis is embracing, is bail reforms. And so now you've got this killer out on the street because he couldn't afford the $800,000 bail. So the judge lowered it to $25,000, and you only need $2,500 of that, and out you are. The other reason why this is a tragedy is because you have this guy, he's free to go out and he'll kill again, perhaps. He'll rob. He'll do all kinds of horrific things because that's what criminals do. And he is obviously, clearly, a criminal. And so we have a situation now where the community of Memphis is less safe. And we see this in every Democrat-run city in America. Bail reforms equal higher crime. That means more victims. That means more tragedy. The other part of when I utilize the term tragedy in talking about this story, what about the handful of people that are still in the hospital in critical condition? What about the family of the person that was killed? You really think this guy is going to live a life that is on the straight and narrow? Now, ultimately, he'll have his day in court, hopefully. But these days, with bail reforms, you're letting this guy out. He can walk the streets, do whatever it is that he's going to do, whatever godforsaken thing that he's going to do, and there will be more victims. 21-year-old Ladarius Marion, the judge, lowering that bail from $800,000 to $25,000, $2,500, and he is out walking the streets of Memphis after partaking in a mass shooting. This is the kind of insanity. And then you wonder, you have to ask the people of Memphis, this is the kind of leadership that you want. This is the kind of leadership that you voted for. And you keep doing it, whether it is Memphis or Chicago or Washington, D.C., we see the same thing over and over and over again. Marion's attorney, Leslie Balin, explained how the video that they show with Marion shows there were more shooters involved in this shooting that have yet to be arrested. So because there were multiple shooters, this guy has a far lower bail than he should have, $800,000, because they have video of the crime, of the incident. She says what was very important today for the court is that the judge review the video. What was in the video is a person in a Mercury hanging out of the window with a handgun. You see a cloud of smoke consistent with the gunshots, shooting in the direction of who is my client and other people, Balin said. So in other words, I guess she's trying to say that this Ladarius Marion is actually some sort of a victim, perhaps? I don't know. But what I will tell you is that these are the kinds of policies that continue to lead to the decay of cities like Memphis. Marion has been charged with 1 count of second-degree murder, 5 counts of attempted second-degree murder, and 5 counts of possession of a firearm while committing a dangerous felony. So now in Memphis and places like Memphis, you can be charged with a count of second-degree murder, 5 counts of attempted second-degree murder, and 5 counts of possession of a firearm, and you can walk the streets. And so that's why you ask the question. I think this has been suggested. So when Ladarius Marion out there in Memphis, when he goes out and he kills someone, when he's out on this $25,000 bail, the $2,500 bail, when he's out on the streets and he kills someone, can the family sue the city of Memphis? Can the family of the future victims of Ladarius Marion, can they sue the city for allowing this guy back out on the streets? Because to me, that's something that really, if it's not being looked at, it should be looked at. Because what's happening is these guys aren't really facing any consequences. And they're let back out on the street, and that only emboldens the criminals, as we all know. 6:15, on SuperTalk, 99.7 WTN. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. .15 on Nashville's Morning News. Morning showers today, a high of 53, chance of showers on Saturday, a high of 53, a slight chance of a shower on Sunday, and a high of 63 right now, 46 degrees at SuperTalk, 99.7 WTN. Memphis, man, it is just, how many really horrible, wretched stories are we going to continue to hear out of Memphis? That city, I'm just telling you, it's not getting any better. I mean, we joke about it. We joke about Memphis here in Nashville because, Memphis makes us look good. But in reality, it is a tragedy because we see that not only is Ladarius Marion, he's getting out with the $2,500, he's back out on the streets. What kind of message does that send to the people of Memphis who are victims of guys like Ladarius Marion? That's number one. And number two, what about the people who know Ladarius Marion or the people that know the situation and they see that the judge lowers this guy bail to the point where he's able to walk out of jail after he is facing all of these various charges? And I do believe that the American people are standing up and taking notice. I can't for the life of me. And this is where the challenge is. And for somebody like me who watches the news, I watch the media, I watch elections, I know this stuff. And it is absolutely baffling to me that you still have what we saw in the midterm elections, where you saw the people in, across America vote for the Democrats there in the Senate. And you see that even in some of these other cities that are wrought with crime, they're still voting in the Democrats. And it lacks all common sense. So that's why when people say they lose faith in America, they lose faith in our various political parties, I totally get that. I do, especially, obviously, says the conservative, when it comes to the Democrats and the Democrat Party, because you see these things that don't make sense. You see these things that have negative impacts on our society, and you see what the Democrat Party stands for, and yet still people in these cities vote for this kind of leadership or lack thereof, and it is absolutely stunning. 6:18 on Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. So Pete Buttigieg had a really bad day yesterday. He went to, and everybody knows, right, that he had to go there tail between his legs, and he was forced to go there because of Donald Trump, because Trump went there. And so he was in East Palestine, Ohio. We all know what happened there. I don't need to reset it. But the question for Pete Buttigieg is, should you apologize?
Will you be resigning anytime soon?
I'm not here for politics. I'm here to make sure the community can get what they need.
Yeah, that's what he said. I'm not here for politics. I'm here to make sure that the community gets what it needs. I'm sorry, but I saw that it was Donald Trump that brought 13 pallets of water and food yesterday, not to mention buying everybody McDonald's.
Sorry, Pete. I just have a quick question. The American public doesn't seem to be very confident in your ability to do your job. Will you be resigning anytime soon?
I'm not here for politics. I'm here to make sure the community can get what they need.
Will you apologize?
I want to be
Will you
speaking to
apologize for the
leaders,
response? For the slow response, taking your
Probably
time?
one of the big. Let's go in here and get away from it.
No apology?
Here, Pete, why did it take you an entire 2.5 weeks to actually get here to respond to East Palestine? Will you apologize to the residents of this city?
And so as he's walking along the streets of East Palestine, you've got these reporters asking if he will resign. And he doesn't want anything to do with them. So he's got now, if you see the video, he's got all of these, his media press people who are surrounding him, trying to get him away from the people that are asking if he should resign and or apologize. And again, his demeanor yesterday was not good because I think that he, quite frankly, probably felt a little stupid in the sense that he's there, he feels like he's been called out by Donald Trump and the media, even some left-leaning media calling him out. And so he clearly doesn't want to apologize. He clearly is not going to resign. The problem for Buttigieg and the problem for the Democrat Party is you've got a guy who, you know, typically the person in charge of the Department of Transportation, typically they don't have presidential aspirations. But see, Pete Buttigieg does, or at least he did. And I think that he is in a no-win situation on this one. Could this be something? Because let's face it, he's had a lot of issues in his tenure as the person in charge of the Department of Transportation. And so the question is, will he still be able to run for the presidency? Because he is somebody who is kind of like the golden child for the Democrat Party. But guess what? He has a lot of issues now, and this situation with the train derailment has not done him any favors whatsoever. And so for the Democrats, I will say as a conservative, for the Democrats, they may have one less option when it comes to who will succeed Joe Biden based on all of this. 621 on Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. By the way, there is a lot more coming from East Palestine, so stay close. Dan Mandis here. Want to tell you about my friends at Premier Flooring. Now, these folks have the best flooring and the best prices, and since your home deserves the best, you need to call Premier Flooring if you need flooring. Now, these folks not only sell amazing flooring, but they install it as well, and they guarantee it. Not all companies do, but Premier Flooring does, and they have a lot of flooring. They sell hardwoods, tile, carpet, LVP as well. They have been voted the #1 flooring store in Wilson County. They do serve Nashville and the surrounding counties. Now, Premier Flooring, what is their pledge to you? Well, they pledge the best flooring available anywhere. They also pledge the highest quality professional installation, and they pledge the widest selection and the lowest prices possible. That's why Premier Flooring is the best, and that's why I recommend them wholeheartedly. Now, these are the folks that I recommend. You will, too, after you call them at 615-449-2668, 2668, 615-449-2668. For Premier Flooring, you can find them online, premierflooringtn.com.
Another $2 billion worth of help to Ukraine just announced. We'll tell you at 6:30 on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. Something very bizarre happened yesterday when Pete Buttigieg was in East Palestine. Now, was it bizarre that Pete Buttigieg was actually in East Palestine? Yes, but even beyond that, something very strange.
He was shaking hands with ghosts, too?
No, he was not. He probably would have liked to, though. No. I'm going to tell you what, coming up after the news, because it's almost suspicious what happened with Pete Buttigieg and East Palestine. So we're going to talk about that straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Also, Donald Trump in the news as well, and there seems to be a lot more names now that are jumping into the GOP primary as we head into 2024. Details straight ahead. 6:29 on Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis here for my friends at LT360. You know, if you are tired of taking medications and you want preventative health care that's going to help keep you healthy as opposed to treating you when you're sick, you've got to call LT360 today. I mean, wouldn't you rather stay healthy than get sick all the time? Well, yeah, that's why I started LT360 years ago. Now, they did help me lose 65 plus pounds. I have been able to keep it off thanks to my coach, Scott Oatsfall, and this amazing program, LT360. Now, what can they do for you? This is holistic health care that really does work, and they're going to create a program that is customized just for you. As a matter of fact, you know, LT360 has the highest success rating out there in helping prevent and fighting off the symptoms of chronic illness. So call them today. As always, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, 615-815-0390. You can find them online at lt360.com.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, headed for a sometimes showery and drizzly weekend. Cooler temperatures, full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Well, the U.S. Department of Defense has just announced another $2 billion aid package to Ukraine to help fight Russia. The Pentagon says that includes artillery ammo, mine-clearing equipment, rocket system munitions, electronic warfare detection equipment, high-mobility artillery rocket systems ammunition, and more. And President Biden will apparently sign off on what the White House calls sweeping new sanctions targeting 200 people and entities, which include both Russia as well as others in other countries, helping to support Russia's war effort. At least a dozen financial institutions are included, as are companies in China. Speaking of China, here's Ian Pannell.
Secretary of State Blinken says he's still optimistic that China won't provide lethal aid to Moscow, even though he says again that the US has picked up information over the last couple of months that strongly indicates Beijing is considering it. Remember, the Pentagon's already warned China it'll face consequences if it does.
Chinese President Xi Jinping is expected to give a, quote, peace speech marking the invasion anniversary, which is 1 year. Right now in Tennessee, one more vote before the so-called drag show bill goes to Governor Lee's desk. The Senate has to vote on a last-minute change in the House. Supporters say it protects children by regulating female and male impersonator performances to age-restricted venues, but opponents say it's hate toward LGBTQ+. Part of yesterday's debate before the House passed it.
It does exactly what I said it does. It's very plain and simple, and I would think an attorney, of all people, would be able to read this and certainly understand how simple it is.
It would prohibit Beyonce, the Queen Bee herself, who is coming to Nashville this year. This bill would allow me as a district attorney, by the plain language of this bill, to arrest Beyonce.
Meanwhile, the bill banning gender-affirming care for minors who feel like they are different than how they were born or simply want to be different has passed for the governor's consideration. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 6:32, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. Dan Mandis here, talking about my friends at the Glock store in Nashville. This is where I bought my gun. This is where I'm getting my training as well. And so should you. Now, nothing screams love in Valentine's Day here in February like gunpowder and lead. I've been talking about my great Glock store training to my wife, Amy. She is now thinking that she might want to try that training out as well. And so what you need to do, if you've got a significant other that wants to train with you, go to the Glock store, because right now that extra training is free with your paid range session. But that's not all. If your significant other is also thinking about a handgun of their own, all of these couple sessions also come with free handgun rentals to help them choose the perfect one. So during your session, you can try out as many of their huge variety of rental handguns as you would like, with or without optics, and that is a great deal. Because if you're thinking about buying a gun, you want to be able to try out as many as possible to find the right one for you. The Glock store is going to help you do that. To book your February couple session, simply go to shoot270.com and click on Book a Shooting Session. That phone number is 615-682-6565, 615-682-6565, glockstore.com. 6:37, Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Dan here for a Friday, February 24th, along with Ken Weaver and Johnny B. So what happened in East Palestine, Ohio? Well, we're finally finding out. Preliminary reports from the NTSB, they say that they're not offering an exact cause, but they did outline several operational concerns, what they say. Surveillance video, this is from CNBC. Surveillance video from local residents showed what appeared to be a wheel bearing in the final stage of overheat failure moments before the derailment, the report said. The wheel bearing and affected wheel cert have been collected as evidence and will be examined by the NTSB. The wheel set has been collected as evidence by the NTSB. In a press conference on Thursday afternoon, they say that it was the combination of the hot axle and the plastic pellets which started the initial fire. They also said that the people working on the train, there were 2 people working on the train, they did everything they could to try and save it and stop the derailment, obviously. They say that roller bearings typically have a finite life of between 100,000 and 300,000 miles. Overheating in roller bearings could stem from fatigue, cracking, water damage, mechanical damage, a loose bearing, or a wheel defect. So they really don't know what caused this thing as of yet. Obviously, everybody is trying to figure this out. Mayor Pete Buttigieg, I played you some audio a few minutes ago where he is being hounded by the media. Nobody wanted to be in East Palestine, Ohio yesterday, less than Pete Buttigieg. This is what he faced.
Sorry, Pete. I just have a quick question. The American public doesn't seem to be very confident in your ability to do your job. Will you be resigning anytime soon?
I'm not here for politics. I'm here to make sure the community can get what they need.
Well, obviously, again, he did not give the community what they need, and the community doesn't need him there now. It is painfully obvious that he made a mistake in not dealing with or even really talking about what happened in East Palestine earlier. Now, this is bizarre. Right after that questioning from that one reporter asking if he should apologize and so forth, his press secretary stepped in. But what's interesting is this is a press secretary, and they're used to being on camera. She would only answer the questions of the media if the cameras were turned off. I'm not exactly why that is. This is actually bizarre, and I would even say that it is suspicious.
Sure. So can we ask why it took him almost 3 weeks to get here?
I'm sorry, I don't want to do this on camera.
What was his personal time off while there was a tragedy happening here?
And can we also ask too why he waited until President Donald Trump came here to actually make an appearance? This is a very important question that people across America would like to know.
I'm happy to have a conversation with you. I do not want to be on camera.
Why? Ken Weaver, you're a news maven, far more than I am these days.
Yes.
Why would she not answer these questions on camera? Any idea?
Well, because she does not want to be seen squirming.
They don't want people to see her nose starting to grow as she lies. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I don't know. I find this whole thing bizarre.
Please put your cameras away.
My name's Alexis.
I'm sorry, we're on a public area, so we are allowed as press.
And you guys, I would like you guys to turn your cameras off.
You're not on my camera.
Well, I'm on a camera. I would like your cameras to be off, and then I'm happy to talk to you guys.
You know what? If you are going to apply and land a job in public service, you better be ready for cameras.
Well, and here's the thing. The cameras are partly how this administration notifies and dialogues with the American people, messages with the American people. So if the American people want to know what is going on with Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden, the elected president of the United States, we want to know what they have to say. And part of that is being on camera and answering those questions.
Well, these weren't friendly questions, Brother Dan.
Oh, clearly they were not friendly. I'm not sure who I'm not sure who these reporters were.
And they weren't even mean questions.
No, these are
they
direct
were just
questions. That's exactly right. These are just direct questions that, as a transportation secretary or a press secretary for a transportation secretary would be expected to answer in a moment like this.
Secretary.
That's right.
Well, if you're the press secretary of the Secretary of the Department of Transportation, don't you think you should be able to ask questions from the American public that you serve?
Absolutely. I would like to do it without the camera on.
Can I ask why?
I think that is a little bit aggressive. That's why. And
why is it aggressive?
Oh, my God. Did you hear that?
That is a little bit aggressive.
It's a little bit aggressive.
It's a little aggressive.
It's so aggressive. Where's my safe space?
I tell you what.
You know what? I bet you she left this interaction and she went to go look for her cry room.
Well, it's probably in the back of the SUV she rode in.
Yes. She probably needed...
Which was, by the way, polluting the planet.
Oh, of course.
Yes, causing global warming.
That's aggressive, too.
Why are cameras aggressive? That is so bizarre.
Well, if you're the press secretary of the Secretary of the Department of Transportation, don't you think you should be able to ask questions from the American public that you serve?
Absolutely. I would like to do it without the camera on.
Can I ask why?
I think that is a little bit aggressive.
Oh, my God.
What a snowflake.
Oh, my goodness. That is a little bit aggressive.
And such a transparent administration, is it not?
Oh, my Lord.
Can I ask why?
I think that is a little bit aggressive. That's
just a little bit aggressive. That's what it is. Just a little bit aggressive.
That's why.
Why is it aggressive? On behalf of the American people, I'm just asking why he has not been here until Donald Trump came.
She's asked several times for them to turn the cameras off, and they will not do it.
And so there we go.
You would turn them cameras off. We're gonna strong arm you.
Listen now, we're not about any aggressiveness.
No, I'll be aggressive with you. We're gonna turn them cameras off.
If she has to ask him one more time.
Isn't that bizarre? Isn't that bizarre that?
Oh, it's telling,
she
Brother
wouldn't
Dan.
appear on camera.
It is telling.
Well, she doesn't want to be featured in the news with an explanation and be caught.
Is that what it is?
I think it is. I think they don't want to go on camera. They don't want to be on record.
That is exactly it. They don't want to answer those questions.
No, because they know they have to lie.
Well, that's
I guarantee you. I wonder if they even knew former President Trump planned on being there. Because all of a sudden...
It caught them by surprise. It definitely caught them by surprise.
I think it definitely did, because just not even 24 hours prior to former President Trump showing up, you'll remember, Pete Buttigieg says, I'll go whenever the time is right.
And he now admits that he was wrong. I've got that audio straight ahead. 6:45, time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Morning showers today, a high of 53. Chance of showers on Saturday, a high of 53. Slight chance of showers on Sunday, a high of 63. Right now, 46. You know, I feel like our cameras are aggressive.
It feels so aggressive. I just don't want... Hey, we want these damn cameras off. Turn them damn cameras off right now.
I find our cameras aggressive, and I would like to not speak until they're turned off.
Well,
can I pull that off? No? Okay.
Oh,
fine.
no. The Office of No says no. Quite emphatically.
They do, actually, quite emphatically. Anyway.
Or to quote Coach Mack during a Titans game, not no, hell no.
Yes.
It's so aggressive.
Now, Pete Buttigieg was. Now, I got to give it to Mayor Pete. He does admit that he's wrong. Listen to this. Oh, Johnny needs... Oh, that's my fault. He does admit that he's wrong. Listen. By the way, how would you like to face that questioning? Good Lord. And he is standing up at the podium.
Welcome to Ohio, Pete.
Welcome to Ohio, man.
A week and a half before you send your first tweet
expressing concern for the residents of East Palestine. A week and a half after the accident happened. In hindsight, was that waiting too long to express anything hours after you had addressed the makeup of work crews on highway construction projects just that very day?
The answer to your question is yes. I felt strongly about this and could have expressed that sooner. Again, I was taking pains to respect the role that I have and the role that I don't have, but that should not have stopped me from weighing in about how I felt about what was happening to this community.
Well, the thing is, though, we really don't know how he felt about the community. Usually, can I just say, isn't it politics 101? You see where the story is, you see what the American people are talking about, and in a situation like this, you react and you say something. You talk about something. You visit. And you have people that are saying, and I mentioned this yesterday, got a lot of reaction out of it. You have people saying, well, Biden doesn't need to, or Buttigieg doesn't need to go to this area to react or impact or affect legislation and so forth. They don't need to be there. It's nothing but a photo op. They can react to it and stay in Washington, D.C. And as I said yesterday, well, then by that metric, why the hell does Joe Biden go to Ukraine? Why does Joe Biden go to Poland? If he can do all of that stuff in Washington, D.C., why does he go? With those stupid air raid sirens.
Yeah. And giving Ukraine money and helping them out, but he ignores...
What is in... You're right, Johnny. What is in the news today, Ken? How much more are we giving these people?
A $2 billion package.
Didn't we just give them $500 million a couple of days ago?
Yes.
I mean, when does it stop? And when...
I mean,
like $500 million, and then a couple of days later, another $2 billion?
At this point, if you were Vladimir Putin, couldn't you just draw your troops back and just launch rockets every couple of days to see how much more money the U.S. is going to spend and send?
Well, Ken, that's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what Russia and China is doing. They're trying to bankrupt America. They're trying to, do whatever they can to make our military weaker by funding all of this going on in Ukraine. They know that we're not going to do anything to just nail the hell out of Russia and end this thing. We're giving them just enough to keep it going, but not enough to win.
Yep.
And so this is just, I don't know what it is that they're waiting for, America. And I understand there's China. What would China do? What's Russia going to do? But this kind of reminds me of Obama with ISIS, where he wouldn't pound the living crap out of ISIS. Remember that?
Yep.
And so ISIS, continued to grow and murder. I remember all of this. Then Donald Trump comes in, and within a few months, he pounced the living crap out of them, and it was over. And so the question that a lot of people have asked, I've asked it too. All right, so then do we give the folks in Ukraine exactly what they need to finish this, or do we just keep this going and let it just keep going and keep going and keep going to the point where we just give billions and billions and billions of dollars every single year? Or as Joe Biden said, as long as it takes.
Yeah.
I'm triggered.
Yeah. Well, it's a very triggering topic, if you will.
Yes.
I need a pillow to hit.
We're a year into this thing, and there still doesn't seem to be any clear strategy here.
Well, that's the other thing that we talked about earlier this weekend is, okay, so we're going to continue to give billions. What's the strategy? There is no strategy. An open checkbook is not a strategy. A blank check for however long it takes is not a strategy.
I don't think a coup is going to happen anytime soon either. It doesn't appear that Putin's in danger.
Not in Russia.
Yeah.
No.
I'd like to do one here. Oh, Lord. How does one, can you order a coup from Amazon or can you, no? All right, fine.
That's aggressive.
That seems so aggressive, Dan.
That's aggressive, calling for a coup. It makes me uncomfortable.
Yes, it does.
I mean, look, we know that Vladimir Putin is a murderer, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
what is happening to women and children, innocent men in Ukraine. But we've gotten to a point now to where Vladimir Putin's not going to stop. And we just keep seeming to, we are just draining our resources.
Yeah.
And there's just no end. There does not seem to be any end in sight. And China is brave enough to float balloons over us.
That's exactly right.
And we let them fly.
So that's what's going on. Billions and billions and billions for as long as it takes. How did we get on this topic anyway?
I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Pete's press secretary apparently didn't like her new job and is probably going to quit today.
Doesn't like the cameras. They didn't tell me there are going to be cameras.
Even though she is the press secretary.
Yes, that's exactly right. All right, got to run. 6:54 on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here. I want to tell you about my friends at Window Nation. This is a phone number that can save you a ton of money. 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION. They can help you save up to 30% on your energy bills. So call them today at 866-90-NATION. They've got a great deal going on right now. You pay zero down, make zero payments, and get 0% financing for 24 months when you get your new windows through Window Nation. That is 2 years, no interest, plus get 2 free windows with every 2 that you buy, and there is no limit. So take advantage of Window Nation's deep discounts, all the while reinvesting in your biggest asset, your home. That phone number, 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION. Don't forget the great deal. Pay nothing for 24 months, plus buy 2 windows and get 2 free on any style window from Window Nation. There is no limit. 866-90-NATION, windownation.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. You often hear me talk about diversification in the investing process, but how do we diversify? Well, we look for things that move in dissimilar fashion historically. Some of those market areas might be really small companies or really large companies, or very growth-oriented companies or value-oriented companies. One of the things that we find is that when we diversify between these various segments, we can reduce the volatility of the portfolio because they don't move in tandem with each other historically. Now we can do that in U.S. markets, we can do that in international markets, and in emerging markets. And when we can dampen that volatility, we can help get ourselves a little bit of a better outcome as far as knowing what we might likely have in the future, or how we can take income from our investment portfolio. Now we also want to add fixed income or bonds to the mix as well. Now, if we know that we need to do this, what's the best way to do it? Well, one of the things that we often teach is this concept of market efficiency. This won the Nobel Prize in economics as well. And it's the idea that if I'm investing in, let's say, small value stocks, if we look at professional managers and their ability to say, hey, should I have this stock or that one, and picking companies or areas of the market, we find that they typically get lower returns than the market does on its own. They just add expense and they can add a lot of volatility. One of the things we want to avoid is anything that can hurt your returns and increase your risk in the investing process. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
6:58, Nashville's morning news on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Coming up, yes, China is trying to encourage peace with Russia and Ukraine. That part of the story coming up next on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
Seven o'clock on the dot this Friday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We're headed for a sometimes rainy, sometimes drizzly weekend with cooler temperatures. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. War on Ukraine. Ian Pannell reports the latest now that they're 1 year into it and the second year is starting.
This morning, the White House announcing a further $2 billion military aid package for Ukraine. And now China calling for a ceasefire and offering a 12-point proposal to end the conflict. The United States has warned China against providing lethal assistance to Russia and is accusing Beijing of already providing some aid to Vladimir Putin.
The UN estimates that at least 8,000 civilians have been killed in Ukraine, more than 13,000 injured since the invasion. Southern border crisis in this country. COVID-driven restrictions on immigration set to lapse May 11th. And Texas is where governments and individuals are preparing for the expiration of Title 42.
Most of the conversation at this week's 2023 Global Border Summit in El Paso was about Title 42. Chelsea Kramer of the nonpartisan American Immigration Council says it's clear that after May 11th,
there is going to be a surge of migrants that will present themselves at the border.
El Paso County Executive Ricardo Samaniego says the expected influx of migrants makes it tough to attract corporate relocations.
We have to court them, right? We have to get them to get excited about our community.
At the same time, he hears from companies around the country asking about migrants willing to travel and work.
That's Jim Ryan reporting there in Texas. Right now in Tennessee, bills which Republicans say are to protect children are closer to becoming law. There's one last vote needed before the so-called drag show bill goes to Governor Lee's desk. News 2 says the state Senate has to vote on some last-minute changes that were made in the House. This bill bans sexually explicit performances in places where children would be able to see them. The bill to ban gender-affirming care for minors when a boy wants to be or feels like a girl and vice versa has passed. It's on its way to Governor Lee for his consideration. 3 Democrats joined every Republican in passing that bill. And right now in this country, an urgent product recall underway. Daria Albinger says some air fryers may do more than just cook your food quickly.
Hasori is recalling more than 2 million air fryers sold in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico due to a risk of fire. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says wire connections can overheat. The company says it's received more than 200 reports of the air fryers catching fire, burning, melting, or smoking, as well as 10 reports of minor burns. The air fryers were sold between June of 2018 and December of 2022 at a number of online and brick-and-mortar retailers. The model numbers involved are listed on the Commission's website.
Market Numbers Report. Market Numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Ahead of the opening bell on Wall Street, futures are down. Dow futures off 194. S&P down 26. NASDAQ down 106. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Nashville's morning news with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news. SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
7:08 on Nashville's morning news on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. By the way, the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen now saying that we very well could be providing around $10 billion more additional economic support for Ukraine. This is what she had to say, I believe, yesterday.
Economic assistance is making Ukraine's resistance possible by supporting the home front, funding critical public services, and helping keep the government running. In the coming months, we expect to provide around $10 billion in additional economic support for Ukraine. Putin himself thought he would achieve a victory at minimal cost, in the words of CIA Director Bill Burns. 1 year later, Putin's war has been a strategic failure for the Kremlin. Ukraine still stands.
All right, so there you go. That is Janet Yellen, another $10 billion in economic support. There are a lot of people that made mention of, and I had totally forgotten about this, and I'm frustrated with myself, but one of the audio bites that made the rounds, it was actually a bite from a while ago, but it resurfaced because somebody tweeted it. I don't remember. But it was basically Joe Biden saying that he was giving the people of Ukraine a pension. Remember that? Where I'll see if I can find the soundbite, but where basically you have Joe Biden saying that he wants to and is giving the people of Ukraine effectively a pension, some money in their pocket and so forth. And so people definitely took notice. And the reason being is that we keep, as we were talking about in the previous segment as well, we keep giving them money, more and more and more money with no strategy. Meantime, our own economy not doing well at all. Oh, and by the way, the American president, the same one whose economic policies have completely decimated 401ks for most Americans, they are now giving pensions, air quotes, pensions to the people of Ukraine, while the same government is destroying our own 401ks. So that's another reason to be irritated. Now, China is now calling for Russia-Ukraine ceasefire, as this is the headline from CNN, claims to neutrality are being questioned. So China is basically trying to make themselves look like they're some sort of a peace broker. But on the other hand, they have this relationship with Russia, where they say it is a no-limits relationship, and they've been talking about giving lethal weaponry to Russia. So you're having a hard time sort of pinning down where China stands on all of this. I think that it's one of those classic cases where you have China saying one thing, but doing another. And while words mean things, I think that actions speak louder than words, and we'll have to see where China ultimately lands on all of this. But we knew that Xi Jinping was going to make a major speech today, Friday. They said Friday. I don't know what time or what day it is in China. But he was going to give a big speech, and he was going to be promoting peace. They say, and this is again from CNN, in a newly released position paper on Friday, China's foreign ministry called for a resumption of peace talks, an end to unilateral sanctions, and stressed its opposition to the use of nuclear weapons, a stance Chinese leader Xi Jinping communicated to Western leaders last year. But, when Vladimir Putin, he'll always say, it wasn't, or North Korea, it wasn't us that stole that intellectual property. It wasn't us that did whatever it was, when everybody knows darn right well that it was. Well, it's the same thing here. You've got China saying that we need to re-engage in peace negotiations, while at the same time, China is being as confrontational as ever. So trying to figure out where China is with all of this is like trying to juggle Jell-O. Now, I think that Xi Jinping, he doesn't want to be a worldwide pariah like Vladimir Putin is, and so he is saying what he has to say. But in reality, what they are doing is they're really stoking this this war. And they're putting the United States in a very precarious position, because if they really wanted to be helpful, they would stay out of the whole darn thing. But then again, Russia, just like America has every right to help Ukraine if that's what we want to do, China can help Russia if they so choose. You know, we can't sit here on one hand, and I'm not, trust me when I say this, I'm not siding with Vladimir Putin by any stretch of the imagination. But if NATO and America is going to side with and help Ukraine, well, then we can't be all that surprised or get all that upset if China does the same thing for Russia. China, they got a lot of bad hombres. Trust me when I say that. Everyone knows where China stands on a lot of this stuff. Everyone also knows, in my opinion, that our president is compromised because of his relationship with China. And so it doesn't help our situation that we have this relationship where we are so entangled and embedded with China, yet at the same time, we have what is effectively a Cold War that is going on with China. And we have a weak president who is acquiescing to all kinds of things. And so then you look at the wokeness of our military, the weakness of our economy, the weakness of our southern border, the wide open southern border, and the ineptitude of our president and leaders like Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin. They are laughing at us. Which is why the presidential race of 2024 is so incredibly important. And I've got some must-hear audio coming up next on Nashville's Morning News. It is 7:15. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Thank you, Jack. 7:16 on Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk. Morning showers, a high of 53. Chance of showers on Saturday, high of 53. Slight chance of a shower on Sunday, high of 63 right now. 46 degrees at SuperTalk, 99.7 WTN. I'm going to spare you this piece from the Washington Post, but I'm going to tell you what the headline says. Trump's grip on the Republican Party and the Republican base is slipping, even among his fans. Now, I think we all know that that is true. There's still a lot of Trump supporters within the Republican Party as well. But there clearly is an effort within the mainstream media, the liberal media, to do whatever they can to create even further of a divide within the Republican Party. Ron DeSantis, of course, and Trump is doing a lot of good things. He went to East Palestine. That was a great success for the president, former president. So now you've got Ron DeSantis is working hard to keep his brand going as we head into a primary election season for the Republican Party. And DeSantis is working hard to continue to build his brand as a guy who could be an alternative to Donald Trump. And he is out there. This was yesterday talking about illegal immigration, a big hot button issue for Republicans, and what he is doing in the state of Florida that will protect elections from illegal immigrants voting. Listen to this.
Our bill will require when you register to vote that you affirm or swear under penalty of perjury that you are a United States citizen. And so if you check that box, and you're not, then you're opening yourself up to prosecution. And we need to make sure that we want all citizens here that want to vote, but we don't want anybody here voting illegally. And if you're not a citizen of this country, you should not be voting in our elections.
I mean, obviously that's a duh moment, but how sad is it that in this day and age, you know, this Friday, February 24th, that's actually a controversial statement? Isn't that crazy? Simply by saying that you should be a legal citizen to be able to vote in this country somehow is triggering people on the left. So one of the things that DeSantis wants to do, this was announced yesterday, is he wants to, in the state of Florida, require all state employers to use E-Verify to confirm the legal status of their employees. And there's nothing wrong with that, friends. If you try and cheat the system and claim to be a citizen, you will suffer the consequences, says the Florida governor.
It's sad that they've let in 5+ illegal aliens, 5 million plus illegal aliens over just a 2-year period. I would like to see them take steps to stop that. At the end of the day, if you change the policies and you send the signal that we're not going to be honoring, because what's happening, people know if they just claim asylum, coming across the southern border, if you get in, fine. If they stop you, just claim asylum, and it triggers this ridiculous process when these are not people that are really eligible for asylum. They're economic migrants.
Yeah, and he's right. I mean, this isn't rocket surgery. DeSantis, by the way, also wants to increase the penalties for human smuggling. Again, somebody please tell me how that's controversial. He wants to stop the practice of local governments funding nonprofits to create ID cards because what they're doing is they're circumventing state law in some cases. So these are very specific things that the governor of Florida is doing in Florida. And effectively what he's doing is he's trying to give an indication to the American people of what he would do as president with all of this legislation and policy initiatives in the state of Florida. And let me tell you something. His ideas are good.
I think if he's going to run again, this is a massive problem for him.
Joe Biden.
And I think that they're wising up about that because you can't defend the borders of your own country. That's kind of like your primary job. In terms of the political opposition, look, these are tough issues because you basically have a Democrat Party now that is for open borders. They don't believe in enforcing immigration law. So they oppose E-Verify because their view is you don't have a right to tell a foreign national that they can't come illegally. It's insane, their ideology, but that's kind of woke ideology run amok.
Well, the big question is, and he's obviously right, DeSantis is saying this, everything that we all as conservatives agree on. One of the questions, though, that he posed is the Biden administration beginning to wise up. I don't know about that, but we'll talk about that straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. By the way, there are some other folks that are announcing their intention to run for president, including a dude named Vivek Ramaswamy. And some of you folks may know him from his many appearances on Fox News, Tucker Carlson. I myself am familiarizing myself with him. Who is he, and does he actually have a chance? We'll talk about that straight ahead on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. 721, want to tell you about my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate. You know, these folks have been helping homeowners sell their homes for nearly 30 years, and over 50,000 satisfied clients have trusted them to sell their homes when starting their next phase in life. Now, the numbers don't lie. I always say that with Mark Spain Real Estate because they've got a really good story to tell. They've got nearly 10,000 five-star reviews, making them the #1 most reviewed real estate company in America. And as the most experienced real estate team, you can trust them to sell your home quickly and for the most money. But you've got to call them at 855-299-SOLD. 855-299-SOLD for Mark Spain Real Estate. As always, tell him Dan Mandis told you to reach out. It's all part of that guaranteed offer. You can trust Mark Spain Real Estate to sell your home quickly and for maximum profit. 855-299-SOLD. Find them online at markspain.com and start packing.
$2 billion for year 2 of the war on Ukraine. We'll tell you about it at 7:30 on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
You know, Ken, what I like about you is you can report the news that is absolutely infuriating, but you've still got like a little step in your voice.
A little cheer.
A little cheer.
Yeah. Makes us feel better about it in some weird way.
Actually, no, Johnny, it doesn't.
Well, it does me.
Does it really? Okay.
I like hearing Ken's voice.
We love Ken's voice.
It's just friendly, and it's nice to hear horrible news coming from someone you love.
By the way, I don't know if you guys caught this. I trolled the audience. I trolled the people listening.
Oh, yeah?
What are they saying,
I
man?
purposely used the term rocket surgery just to see how closely people are paying attention. Now, obviously, that is a combining of brain surgery and rocket science.
Right.
It ain't rocket surgery. Well, they were certainly paying attention.
Oh, yeah, they'll jump right on
They
that.
just right all over me on that one, man.
Yeah.
Mandis, what is rocket surgery? You're like Biden.
Yeah, I like
Come
it.
on, man. I'm kidding.
Rocket surgery. Then we shoot that down. Where am I? Is this still Kyiv?
Oh, man. Anyway, so people, I know that I used rocket surgery. I did it on purpose because I just wanted to try to keep you people honest, see if you were paying attention, and they were. Thank you for that.
That's what I'm going to start doing whenever I mispronounce a word or something like that.
Yeah?
I was just seeing if you guys were listening.
If you're paying attention.
No, but I really did that on purpose.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay.
We do.
I'm just saying.
I'm like, are you saying that I didn't do that on purpose?
No. I was talking about me. I was talking about me, Brother Dan.
Sure you were, Ken.
I'm going to try to get through this newscast without one slip up, without one shank.
Listen, when you work, this is what I've noticed. When you work really hard, you as in me, when I work really hard not to screw up, it's when I really screw up.
Yeah, I know. I'm
story of my life, man.
I'm really worried about it now. Starting with the first word.
All right, everybody, let's listen to see if Ken Weaver shanks the next newscast. No pressure, man. 7:29 on Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
$7:30 on the dot this Friday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. A sometimes rainy, sometimes drizzly weekend ahead with cooler temperatures. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Year 2 of the war on Ukraine is underway. The U.S. Defense Department announcing this morning we're giving Ukraine another $2 billion worth of military weapons and equipment to fight Russia. Meanwhile, America's top diplomat gave Good Morning America a preview of what he will tell the UN Security Council later today.
Russia has lost, by public accounts, either killed or wounded 200,000 people. 1 million Russians have fled the country since last February, including the most educated, the best and the brightest.
Secretary Antony Blinken says Ukraine has taken back about 50% of what Russia has taken since the war started. 76 days before the scheduled expiration of Title 42, citizens and elected leaders along the U.S.-Mexico border are getting ready. Jim Ryan in Texas, where a surge in border crossings, both legal and illegal, anticipated.
Title 42 allowed the immediate expulsion of some migrants based on the risk of a COVID spread. On May 11th, it goes away. Carlos Alonso Cita lives next to the border in El Paso and wonders what will happen then.
It's not a problem right now as far as I know. Border Patrol's always parked right there at the end of the block.
Next week, the El Paso City Council will be briefed on what's being done locally to prepare for the anticipated surge in migrants after May 11th.
Right now in Tennessee, one more last-minute vote on the so-called drag show bill. Channel 4's Ryan Breslin reports.
While the bill never says drag or drag queens in it, it focuses on banning an adult cabaret performance in a public place that could feature topless, go-go, or exotic dancers and strippers or male or female impersonators, whether or not they're performing for consideration.
The bill goes to the Senate after the House amended it. Once passed in the Senate, it goes to Governor Lee. The bill that bans gender-affirming care for minors is headed to Governor Lee's desk. It bans surgery or hormone treatment for kids who want to be or feel like they are different from what they were at birth. Talking about gender. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis for Paul Winkler Incorporated. Now, Paul Winkler changed my financial life by teaching me the right way to manage my retirement. To be honest, I looked at a few different firms and decided to work with Paul and his team. Now, one reason why is because Paul Winkler voluntarily holds himself to the highest standards of fiduciary duty. Now, that means that the investment regulators require that I tell you that I am paid every time this commercial airs, and that's incentive to say nice things. Well, that's fair enough, but here's the deal. I'm a client of Paul Winkler myself, and I wouldn't have chosen them if I didn't believe in what they do and how they work. Now, I like that their investing philosophy is evidence-based and not someone's opinion of the day. I wanted them to focus on balancing risk and helping me figure out what I needed in savings and help me make the decisions that would be in my best interest. I also didn't want to work with a firm that was paid on commission. Paul has 10 offices across Middle Tennessee, no doubt one near you. Check them out today at 615-851-1950. As always, tell him Dan Mandis told you to reach out. You can also find him online at paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone consultation. That's paulwinkler.com.
Good morning,
7:38, Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Ken, did you do that on purpose?
Do what on purpose?
Oh, you know what you did.
Oh, I do not.
And a whole bunch of people also know what you did in that newscast after we were talking about me trolling the audience purposely utilizing the term rocket surgery.
Yeah.
Again, just keeping you folks honest, making sure that you're paying attention. You talked about how you got to make extra certain that you don't shank your newscast.
Right.
And, Johnny, what did Ken do in the newscast?
Well, let's go to the tape, Dan and Ken.
A preview of what he will tell the Urine Security Council later today.
The Urine Security Council.
That's a better name.
I cannot confirm nor deny.
It is so appropriate, the Urine Security Council.
Preview of what he will tell the Urine Security Council later today. Look, I want you guys to take me off this camera.
It seems...
It seems a little aggressive.
Yeah, it's very aggressive.
It's making you uncomfortable.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it's about to... It's scaring the urine out of me.
Where?
It's scaring the pee out of me.
Where are you Van Gogh listeners when we need you?
I know, right?
I did say urine. I did not mean to say urine. I would not do that in a newscast.
No, he
purposely.
would not.
6961. He just said urine instead of UN.
It's like we're in school.
Oh, my gosh. The people are just...
Are they going crazy?
Kathy, what did he just say?
Well, Kathy?
Did Ken call the UN Security Council the Urine Security Council?
Preview of what he will tell the Urine Security Council later today. I did not mean to do that.
You know what, Ken? I'm going to, Johnny, save this because next year when they do the Tennessee Radio Broadcasting Awards, I'm gonna go ahead and put that one in just to see if they notice.
Well, maybe it's because I'm just echoing what a lot of people feel about the UN Security Council.
Or what they'd like to do to the building out there.
Yeah.
There's that, too.
Rats.
This would be good color for that building.
Oh, yes.
There they're all yellow anyway.
I did not mean to do that.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Will you be like Pete Buttigieg and not apologize? Do you owe the United Urine Council an apology?
I want cameras off. I'll tell you what I think with cameras off.
It's exact. You know what? Ken's going to tell us exactly what he has to say about this, but we've got to turn the radio station off.
That's right.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And some days I wish that the radio station was off.
Whoa! I want that audio.
It's like...
That's what Ken's saying. Give me that audio now.
I'll never forget, I said one time after what I thought was a particularly bad show, and I was in a meeting, and the engineer had said, yeah, we're on low power this morning because of XYZ. And I said, thank God, because I suck today.
I think I remember that.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
See, I can look back and laugh now.
Well, yeah.
Well, that's what you got to do.
It's just radio, man.
Yeah, it's radio. It's not brain surgery. Nobody lost their life, did they? No.
Actually, it used to be just radio. Now we're on TV.
Yes.
Can we just all be clear? It's the internet. It's not TV.
It's SuperTalk TV on the internet.
Although if somebody wants to put us on their TV, they can.
Well, they do. One guy sent us a screenshot.
I actually got a couple of screenshots after we talked about that of people bringing us up on their television sets on YouTube.
And it was quite scary, to be quite honest.
It's not the internet. It's the internet. It's the internet.
What are you doing? Why are you doing? It's
the internet.
You just now messing around?
Yeah, I'm just joshing with you.
He's getting ready to go to the urine. I mean, you win.
All right, can we move on? Because I've got stuff I got to do.
Very well.
Very well.
All right, very good. By the way, people, it's interesting back and forth. Guy who initially said Trump supporter, then he jumped over to DeSantis. Now he's going back to Trump. So I think there's some Trump supporters who have been flirting with DeSantis. Now they're going back to Donald Trump. I think part of the reason why, and I've been saying this for a long time. If the former president would just do stuff and not say stuff, you know what I mean?
Stupid stuff.
Yeah, don't say stupid stuff. Say good stuff. Do good stuff. Go to East Palestine. Go support police officers. Go support the military. Talk about the horrible crime and the Democrats and Biden. Those are the ideas and the principles that will make Donald Trump the nominee for the Republicans in 2024. I mean, DeSantis has a lot of, good about him, too. He's trying to, basically nationalize Florida. He's trying to show the American people what can be done for the nation by what he's doing in Florida. That's not a bad thing, folks. There's other things, by the way, going on. One of the things that DeSantis mentioned, I played this during the previous segment where he said that he thought that maybe the Biden administration was wising up when it was coming to illegal immigration. I don't know about that. Now, remember what Biden wants to do. He announced this, I think it was last week. If you came into America illegally, you are automatically ineligible for asylum and, basically you'll be deported. Well, that's BS. I mean, they're not going to be able to track down all of these people that came across our southern border, obviously. So these are just words that are empty. They say that Biden says if you did not seek asylum in a country that you've already traveled through, also not eligible for asylum. So that's the bottom line. What Biden does want to do, we've talked about this, he wants to increase the number of legal migrants by the tens of thousands every month. So Republicans are angry at Biden for his open borders. Now you've got the Democrats that are also angry at Biden, deeply disappointed, they say, in his restrictions for asylum seekers. I just told you what those restrictions are. So again, DeSantis is trying to nationalize Florida while Biden screws up the nation. 7:45, got a few other things to tell you about straight ahead. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Thank you, Jack. 7:46, morning showers today, a high of 53. Chance of showers on Saturday, high of 53. Slight chance of showers on Sunday, a high of 63. Right now, 45 at SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Tim Scott. Now, you folks know that I am a big Tim Scott fan. The question is, will he actually run for president? He's been making a lot of strides toward that possibility. He's out on the campaign trail, seemingly. This is part of what he said. I believe this was in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa, as a matter of fact.
K through 12, you have more indoctrination than education if you want to ruin America. You'd have to make sure the kids spent more time on CRT than they do ABC. If you want to ruin America, you would make sure that the poorest kids are locked in the failing schools with no choice and no voice. Next American generation starts with good, strong, homegrown leadership. People who are in the fight because they believe in our story.
So that is South Carolina Senator Tim Scott. And I think he's saying a lot of the right things. We'll have to see if he does decide to run. He also, by the way, is using the term American Sunrise, the new American Sunrise, as he's trying to be, what's the right way to put this, more positive as opposed to negative, right? This new American Sunrise, things are looking good. Our best days are yet to come, as opposed to others who are, constantly talking about, all the ills of America, which a lot of these are the fault of Joe Biden. So I see that he's trying to carve out sort of a niche for himself. I do understand that. By the way, who is Vivek Ramaswamy? And I may be shanking his name, but this is a guy who is, what I would say is he is an anti-woke crusader. That's what they're trying to call him. He is another one of these guys who is really, really rich, and he's got a lot of really good things to say. He's made a lot of appearances on Fox News. This is, again, Vivek Ramaswamy, and he is announced now that he is running for president.
We're in the middle of a national identity crisis. Faith, patriotism, and hard work have disappeared, only to be replaced by new secular religions like COVIDism, climatism, and gender ideology. We hunger to be part of something bigger than ourselves, yet we cannot even answer the question of what it means to be an American. Today, the woke left preys on that vacuum. They tell you that your race, your gender, and your sexual orientation govern who you are, what you can achieve, and what you're allowed to think.
I mean, listen, he's right. But see, here's the thing about this guy, and I'm just going to tell you, I'm not sold on him by any stretch of the imagination. He's filed his paperwork as a Republican. He is saying all the right things for a conservative. No actual mention, at least in his initial announcement, of running or being a Republican.
And that is why today I am announcing my run for President of the United States. This isn't just a political campaign. This is a cultural movement to create a new American dream for the next generation. To me, the American dream means you believe in merit, that you get ahead in this country, not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions.
Yeah, so that is Vivek Ramaswamy, and he's a multimillionaire. He's already been to Iowa. He's been, again, talking a good game with a lot of folks. He made his fortune investing in biotech. He is an Indian American. He was born here, but his parents are from India, and he has spent a lot of time on Fox News. He's written 3 books, and again, he is one of these guys that made a fortune in biotech, and so now he wants to be president. Here's the thing about him. He wants to completely decouple from China. He wants to, again, bring merit back, and he is all about battling the woke ideology. And that's all good stuff. Trust me when I say I appreciate that. And if he's going to talk about China, I like that because there's a lot of politicians these days who don't want to talk about China. This is how Bloomberg puts this. As Vivek Ramaswamy uses Tucker Carlson's show to announce his campaign for president, one thing is clear. The race for the MAGA base is getting messier and more crowded by the day. Over the next few months, Republicans are guaranteed to take exceedingly extreme positions, they say, on everything from banning abortion to cutting Social Security and Medicare. And they say we look forward to continuing to ensure every American knows just how extreme the MAGA agenda is. And so that's part of what's going on is you have these folks on the left that are going to portray every single person that is running as extreme, including this guy, Vivek. Here's the thing, though, is that with this particular guy, Vivek Ramaswamy, is that you can only build a campaign so much on being anti-woke. You've got to have, at least in my opinion, you've got to have something else. You know, for me, there's nothing that he offers that a Ron DeSantis or a Tim Scott or even a Nikki Haley don't offer. But they also have the leadership experience. Of course, Tim Scott is a senator. You've got DeSantis as a governor as well. So I'm trying to figure out where is Vivek's place within the primary race. This is one more thing that he said on Tucker Carlson. This was a couple of nights ago when he made the official announcement.
I think we need to put merit back into America in every sphere of our lives. I mean, merit in who gets into this country. Let's start with that, okay? I think more people like my parents can be a good thing for this country. But people whose first act of entering this country as a law-breaking one, we should say a hard no to that. Not just who gets in, but also who gets ahead.
And so that is part of what he has to say. We'll keep an eye on him. I think he'll definitely add to the conversation, which is exactly what Donald Trump did when he announced that he was running. Then, of course, as we all know, it turned into a lot more than just that. 7:53 on Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk. The housing market, my friends, is absolutely nuts right now. And you need to keep maintaining your house and add to its value. And my friends at Rhino Shield, they can help you because, you know, curb appeal really is a thing. And an exterior paint job can help you. Give Rhino Shield of Nashville a call and don't worry about your home's exterior paint for at least 25 years. That is huge. Now, your house is going to look amazing and fresh for years when you go through Rhino Shield for your exterior paint job. You can save time and money in the process. You know, Rhino Shield can be used on virtually any surface, and it is guaranteed to last, and it will increase the value of your home. It's also going to lower your energy costs. It's going to protect your home from the elements. And yes, it is green friendly as well. So call them today. Call Clay Morris. He is the owner of Rhino Shield. Tell him Dan Mandis told you to reach out. He's going to get you a free estimate right away. 615-474-1729 for Rhino Shield. 615-474-1729. You can find them online. It's rhinoshieldnashville.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. You often hear me talk about diversification in the investing process, but how do we diversify? Well, we look for things that move in dissimilar fashion historically. Some of those market areas might be really small companies or really large companies, or very growth-oriented companies or value-oriented companies. One of the things that we find is that when we diversify between these various segments, we can reduce the volatility of the portfolio because they don't move in tandem with each other historically. Now, we can do that in U.S. markets, we can do that in international markets, and in emerging markets. And when we can dampen that volatility, we can help get ourselves a little bit of a better outcome as far as knowing what we might likely have in the future, or how we can take income from our investment portfolio. Now, we also want to add fixed income or bonds to the mix as well. Now, if we know that we need to do this, what's the best way to do it? Well, one of the things that we often teach is this concept of market efficiency. This won the Nobel Prize in economics as well. And it's the idea that if I'm investing in, let's say, small value stocks, if we look at professional managers and their ability to say, hey, should I have this stock or that one, and picking companies or areas of the market, we find that they typically get lower returns than the market does on its own. They just add expense and they can add a lot of volatility. One of the things we want to avoid is anything that can hurt your returns and increase your risk in the investing process. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
Wait till you hear what the latest inflation report says happened in January. I'll tell you in 2 minutes at 8 o'clock on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. 7:58 on Nashville's Morning News. Guys, coming up next, one of my favorite Tennessee conservatives, Dr. Carol Swain, is going to be here on the program straight ahead at about 8:06. And Dez Dickerson, from Prince, he's going to be here at 8:35.
Yes, sir.
Wrapping up the week the right way. Straight ahead, SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
Eight o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, headed for a sometimes rainy, sometimes drizzly, and a definitely cooler weekend. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Got some brand new money news for you, another key economic indicator, and it is not good for your pocketbook. The Federal Reserve's preferred gauge, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, went up 5.4% in January from a year earlier. They were up 5.3% year over year in December. Inflation is not slowing down. Personal spending went up nearly 2% month to month last month, while incomes rose just 0.5%. War on Ukraine, year 2 is underway, and the Defense Department this morning announcing the U.S. is sending another $2 billion worth of weapons and equipment to help fight Russia. And the White House says President Biden will impose what they call sweeping sanctions on 200 individuals and entities for helping Russia, including Russians, but also people in other countries. It also includes financial institutions, including some in China. Meanwhile, in Europe
is growing wary. Billions upon billions in funds have already been poured to Kyiv. Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, for one, refusing to budge from his now familiar rhetorical position.
Some worry our support to Ukraine risks triggering escalation. But there are no risk-free options. And the biggest risk of all is if President Putin wins.
Meanwhile, in Ukraine, President Zelensky pledges to push for victory in 2023 on the somber anniversary. Tom Rivers, ABC News at the Foreign Desk.
So now that we are 1 year through the war and we're into the second year, the UN estimates that at least 8,000 civilians have been killed in Ukraine and more than 13,000 injured. Right now in Tennessee, bills which Republicans say are to protect children are closer to becoming law. There is one last vote needed before the so-called drag show bill goes to Governor Lee's desk. News 2 says the state Senate has to vote on a last-minute amendment. The bill bans sexually explicit performances in places where children might be able to see them. The bill to ban gender-affirming care for minors when a boy wants to be or feels like a girl and vice versa has passed. It's on the way to Governor Lee for his consideration. 3 Democrats joined every Republican in passing that bill. An accused double murderer, Alex Murdaugh, is due back on the stand today in South Carolina.
Alex Murdaugh taking the stand in his own defense, immediately denying he killed his wife and son.
Did you take this gun or any gun like it and blow your son's brains out on June 7th or any day or any time?
No, I did not.
Murdaugh admitting he lied about being at the crime scene in the minutes before the murders. The once prominent South Carolina attorney saying he was paranoid because of his opioid addiction. And when asked about the millions he stole from clients of his law firm,
I took money that was not mine, and I shouldn't have done it.
That's Jacqueline Lee reporting. Market Numbers Report. Market Numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. And futures before the opening bell show that investors are worried about this latest inflation report. Dow futures tanking 379, S&P off 52, NASDAQ down 214. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.